All right, welcome to this explainer. Hitting play on a video today feels completely instant, right? But that simple little click is really just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface is this absolutely massive, constantly evolving technological ecosystem that has spent the last 2 decades continuously reinventing itself. So today, we're going to explore the architectural history of the world's most dominant video platform and trace exactly how it went from this clunky little webs experiment to a literal global infrastructure marvel.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break down this massive architectural history across 5 key pillars. First, the engine powering playback. Second, the evolution of live streaming. Third, how they fostered community. Fourth, expanding beyond the browser. And finally, becoming a truly global platform.
Pillar number 1, the engine powering playback, from flash to super resolution.
To really appreciate where the platform is today, we have to look at the underlying plumbing. And honestly, the difference between the origins of digital video and today is literally night and day. Back in 2005, watching a video on your computer practically demanded you have the Adobe Flash Player plugin installed. You were getting a single, rigid video quality at a tiny 320 by 240 pixel resolution, all powered by this early codec known as Sorensen Spark. But compare that to the modern era. In 2015, HTML5 video became the default standard, which completely eliminated the need for those bulky plugins. But the real magic? That's dynamic adaptive streaming over HTTP, or MPEG-DASH. This tech is what allows the player to seamlessly adjust your video quality and bitrate on the fly, right in the middle of a video, based entirely on your current network speed, using highly efficient modern codecs like VP9 and AV1.
And it was exactly that underlying transition that allowed for this incredibly rapid ascent in video quality. The milestones came fast and furious. 720p HD arrived in November 2008, along with a shift to a 16:9 widescreen player. By 2010, the platform was already launching 4K formats. In 2014, they rolled out support for 60 frames per second, which, if you're a gamer, you know was a massive deal for motion-intensive content. Then 8K hits in 2015. But what is absolutely wild about this progression is the October 2025 update. The platform started rolling out AI-driven super resolution. They are actively using artificial intelligence to upscale older, low-quality videos to a crisp 1080p. Think about that. They aren't just supporting newer, better cameras. They're actually upgrading the past. Now, what is truly staggering is the sheer math behind the video links themselves. 73.8 quintillion. That's 73.8 billion. You see, every single video is identified by an 11-character base64 alphanumeric string right in its URL. And because each of those 11 positions can use one of 64 different characters, so letters, digits, an underscore, or a dash, the mathematical limit for unique video URLs is 73.8 quintillion. It's a brilliant architectural choice because it essentially guarantees they will never ever run out of space for new content.
But what you can actually do with those video uploads depends entirely on your user tier. In the really early days, you could upload long files, but by March 2006, the platform had to impose a super strict 10-minute limit, mostly to combat people unauthorizedly uploading full television shows and movies. Today, though, that structure has evolved into a verification tier system, and the leap in capability is massive. Standard features let you upload basic videos, but if you just verify via phone number or establish a solid channel history, you unlock intermediate features. Suddenly, that limit jumps from those original 10 minutes all the way up to videos that can be 12 hours long or up to 256 gigabytes in size. And further verification unlocks advanced features, which gives creators access to monetization and sophisticated copyright appeal tools.
Pillar 2, the evolution of live, broadcasting to the world in real time. So, moving from recorded storage to real-time broadcasting is a huge leap. And to really wrap our heads around the scale of what their live infrastructure eventually achieved, we just have to look back at October 2012. More than 8 million concurrent viewers tuned in at the exact same time to watch Felix Baumgartner jump from the edge of space during the Red Bull Stratus event. It was a total watershed moment. It proved unequivocally that the internet could handle live, global, synchronous viewership on a scale that used to be strictly reserved for traditional television networks.
But of course, that massive capability was not built overnight. They opened the live floodgates very, very carefully. Step 1 involved these highly controlled early experiments between 2008 and 2010 using third-party infrastructure. We're talking about huge events like a U2 concert and a Q&A with US President Barack Obama. Step 2 came along in April 2011 when they officially rolled out their own internal live streaming infrastructure, but they kept it strictly limited to select partners. Finally, in Step 3, throughout 2013, they fully democratized the tool.
They first opened it up to verified users with 1,000 subscribers, then quickly dropped that hurdle to 100, and finally just removed the subscriber limit entirely by that December.
Pillar 3. Fostering community and conversation. Moderating the public square.
Because as you can imagine, building the video player was really only half the battle. Dealing with the human element was just as complex. Just listen to this quote from Time magazine back in 2006. While they were praising the whole Web 2.0 movement, the magazine noted the platform, quote, harnesses the stupidity of crowds as well as its wisdom. Some of the comments on YouTube make you weep for the future of humanity. It's actually quite funny in hindsight, but it hit the nail on the head regarding a severe, tangible problem. The early unmoderated comment sections were notorious for being aggressive, incredibly hostile, and just plain chaotic. And this kicked off a multi-year moderation saga. Step 1 was that chaotic Wild West era of the internet. Step 2 was a highly controversial attempt to actually fix it. In November 2013, Google essentially forced all users to integrate a Google Plus account just to leave a comment. The logic was that ending anonymity would force accountability, right? Well, it was met with immense backlash. Even the platform's co-founder, Jawed Karim, famously posted on his own channel explicitly asking why he needed a Google Plus account just to comment on a video. The outcry was deafening. And that led to Step 3. By 2015, the Google Plus requirement was completely dropped, and the platform pivoted heavily toward empowering the actual creators with tools to hold comments for review. They later combined that with an algorithm introduced in 2020 that actively warns users if they're about to post something potentially offensive.
But beyond just managing the comments on videos, the platform realized it needed a dedicated space for creators to speak directly to their audiences. So in 2016, after consulting with some major creators like the Vlogbrothers and Lily Singh, they launched the Community tab. It operated a lot like a social media style feed for text, images, and GIFs, which was perfect for keeping users engaged in between actual video uploads. And reflecting how broadly it's used today, this feature was officially just renamed to Posts in January 2025.
Pillar 4. Expanding beyond the browser. Screens everywhere.
Moving away from just sitting at a desktop computer required some serious, deliberate technological partnerships. In 2007, videos became available on Apple TV and the original iPhone. This was actually a massive undertaking because it required transcoding all that content into Apple's preferred H.264 standard. By 2009, they had built customized interfaces for the PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii. In 2010, the mobile site got a complete overhaul using HTML5, specifically optimized for touchscreen smartphones. And interestingly, when Apple decided to drop the preloaded app from iOS 6 in 2012, Google just immediately launched its own wildly successful native iOS app. By the time a downloadable app hit the Nintendo Switch in 2018, the whole ecosystem had become beautifully hardware agnostic.
Finally, Pillar 5. A truly global platform. Breaking language barriers.
Very early on, the platform faced some pretty valid criticism for prioritizing English and US-centric content. So, to counter this, in June 2007, then Google CEO Eric Schmidt flew to Paris to officially launch a massive localization effort. They debuted customized experiences for countries like France, Brazil, the UK, and several others. And this wasn't just translating menus. It meant establishing country-specific rankings and completely localized metrics. Fast forward to 2026, and the platform's interface is now fully localized in 110 different countries and 2 territories.
So, what does this global reach actually mean for the creators making the videos? Well, consider the structural shift that happened recently. Before 2023, if a creator wanted to reach, say, a Spanish or Hindi-speaking audience, they literally had to create and manage entirely separate secondary channels just to upload the dubbed versions of their videos. It completely splintered their audience. But post-2023, the architecture evolved to support multi-language dub tracks. So now, a creator uploads a single video file that houses multiple language tracks, and the viewer seamlessly chooses whichever one they want.
Honestly, the importance of this architectural update cannot be overstated. Top creators instantly recognized what a big deal this was. MrBeast, who operates one of the absolute largest channels on the platform, famously called this multi-language track update a giant win. It fundamentally shifted the growth trajectory for international content, allowing massive creators to finally consolidate their fragmented global audiences back onto one single, immensely powerful primary channel.
And they are actively pushing that language barrier even further with artificial intelligence right now. In September 2024, they expanded a feature originally announced in 2022 known as Aloud. Aloud is an auto-dubbing feature that generates translated audio tracks completely automatically using AI. It drastically reduces the cost and friction of internationalizing content. Now, to be fair, we should note it has definitely faced early criticisms. Users have pointed out instances of robotic-sounding voices, some translation errors, and frustration over a lack of options to simply disable the auto-dubbed voices. So it's very much a work in progress, but the trajectory of where they're heading is incredibly clear.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've traced the architecture from a rudimentary, single-quality flash player limited to just 10 minutes, all the way to an 8K globally distributed, AI-upscaled, and AI-dubbed ecosystem. The one constant thread here is evolution. So I'll leave you with this thought. Given the exponential leaps we've seen in adaptive streaming, artificial intelligence, and global localization, how will the underlying architecture of digital video reinvent itself in the next 2 decades? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep learning.